And hey guys, how's it going? So obviously Danny's not here yet. He's running late on his way home. So, you know, just you and me for a little while. I figure we'll just hang out, see what's going on in the chat until Danny gets here, and then we'll get into our talk about X-Men 97 and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Um, so I'm not going to say anything about how I felt about Ghostbusters until Danny's here, because I don't want to have to repeat myself and all that. So don't ask me what I thought about it yet. We'll talk about that after Danny gets here. But first in the chat was Anthony. Says, I want to say hello to Danny and Michael. Good to see you. Miss Moneypenny is here. Good to see you. Sorry, Danny's not here yet. And it still looks like you're either saying honey mark or horny mark every time I see that. Stanley says X-Men has been better than I expected. Well, here's the problem with that, Stan. The reason for that is this whole phenomenon of what, and it's an overused term, the whole toxic fandom thing. It's exactly what we're seeing here, because the toxic fans out there have been sitting there talking about how the show is horrible without having seen it. And so now the show's out, and you know what? It feels a lot like X-Men. It just feels like it's the next season of the X-Men animated series. So, yeah, but people were freaking out because the creator of the series was talking about how Morph was non-binary. Well, guess what? Morph is technically non-binary, because what the heck is he? He can be any man or woman. So there's no better descriptor than non-binary of him. So I think he was just saying that to earn virtue signaling points, and everybody was making a mountain out of a freaking molehill. And I'm sick and tired of people saying, woke, 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 woke. Like, ah. So yeah, that's been better than expected as well. It's interesting that the guys are always topless and ripped while the girls all seem to be wearing extra bras under their bras. Well, I will tell you, that is nothing new. They did that in the comic books as well. I will tell you, it's not an X-Men comic book if Wolverine doesn't get a shirt ripped. The funny thing, though, is that, you see, that wasn't supposed to be like a sexy thing, because Wolverine has always also been portrayed as being butt ugly, not as Hugh Jackman. Mike Richards, the best thing to come out of Columbus, Ohio, is here. Good to see you. And 47 Yorktown from the far eastern provinces of Canada. It is indeed a proud and native land. Not sure what you mean there. Let's see if people saying back and forth. Penny says Daniel will be home in about 15 minutes. She said that 11 minutes ago, so we'll see if he gets here in the next 4 minutes. Captain Phantom Nerd is in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Let's see. Penny. Ariel says, been pushed back to 5 p.m. What's been pushed back to? Oh, you're talking about the start time, because the start time, it's actually 6. And yeah, so I got cut off by Danny being a little sassy there at the end of the show last night. So Danny got another job, and so we're pushing the start time back in anticipation that his work schedule is not going to allow us to start as early as we have been starting. And so we figure we push it back to 6 now, and that way, if we have to push it to 7 or even 8, when he actually starts work, it'll be less of a impact for people if we've already been pushing it a little later. And Miss Moneypenny, look, I don't want to hear about other streams you're watching right now. I keep telling you that. Please stop, advertising for other people on YouTube on my stream. I would really, really appreciate it. And let's see. And of course, Thomas being Thomas says, what did you think about it? You'll see soon enough. Madam President Penny. Let's see. That's Will Forge. Well, Forge is from that old Life Death comic run, right? I don't know what the name of the run was that Forge came into play. Quite frankly, I think X-Men peaked before the introduction of Forge, and Bishop, for that matter. I think Bishop was kind of the beginning and the end for the X-Men, at least for me. The new Star Wars show destroys canon, apparently, even though only a trailer was shown. Yes, I know. And see, that's oh man. Okay, so going back to when I was going off about what Stan said earlier. All these people talking about how horrible the Accolade is, and and I'm sorry, the whole thing with the tampon replacing the lightsaber is just vile, right? And so because that is proving the point when Hollywood people start saying, oh, they're just a bunch of sexists. If they don't like the show, it's because they're sexist. And, people like me want to say, no, I don't like a show if it's bad. Like I didn't like Book of Boba Fett because it was badly done, not because of any political reason. But then when all these fans start throwing crap like the tampon pictures out there and yucking it up about that, you're showing that you're being freaking sexist. You haven't seen the show. You don't know if it's any good. So stop making fun of the fact that there's women in it. I guess I'm just a little cranky today. Let's see. Am I using the correct mic? Is it not? Let me see. Oh, no, I'm not, it looks like. Let me check the settings. All right, so what the heck? Why did it switch? This link and video. What the heck happened? Okay, let me try. Oh, weird. So my mic here. So yeah, the reason that the mic sounds off is because I must have accidentally disconnected it. So bear with me, guys. Well, I see Jason may not be on the show anymore, but man, still we get the Jason Jinx here all the time. Is it this one? Try moving that over. Well, that just killed my monitor. So why would that kill my monitor? That doesn't even make sense. This has just been a weird day. All right. So is it back? It should be. Come on. But still nothing there. All right, let's disconnect this USB. And of course I knocked that on the floor. Because why would anything go right for me today? Oh, and I heard the ding, so that must mean that Danny is getting ready to come back onto the show. All right, so now Danny's crinkling crap in front of his microphone to make as much noise as possible, apparently. And this isn't the right one, is it? And so, Thomas, I appreciate you pointing that out to me. I just wish I had realized that before I went live. Hopefully, Danny will come in soon. Any day now, Danny. Any day. There he is. What? Don't
I didn't realize you wanted me to add myself.
Well, why wouldn't I want you to add yourself?
Huh?
It's why wouldn't
usually you add me.
Well, you're a big boy. All right, so
What's going
keep
on?
the. Oh, my microphone somehow isn't. I lost its connection, and so I'm trying to fix that. So do me a favor and keep everybody entertained for a minute while I get up and move a cable.
Okay, I will try. Sorry, guys, for being. What do we got here? Nerd5 suggests you ask LDG, but he's busy plotting to destroy us all in June. That's Thomas Potts. Um, Man, I don't know if we're talking about X-Men first or Ghostbusters first, but for those of you uh, who didn't read the comic, you won't know, but they crammed about a decade worth of storytelling in a 30-minute episode. And I actually think they did a pretty good job of doing it. Um, so yeah, I'd like to know what you guys think in the chat. We can do a little X-Men talk while we're waiting for Jason. I would say show of hands, but in the chat, if you are familiar with the Inferno storyline, um, and from the X-Men comics, let me know in the chat. And for those of you who are not familiar, this may or may not be spoilers, kind of, because it's not exactly the same. But it was pretty cool that Forge showed up at the end of the episode, because originally in the comics, Forge was the one that was inadvertently he took Storm's powers by accident. Um, and they had already had it. So I really like how they're doing this. And the creator of that storyline, who did the Phoenix Saga and then Inferno, was Chris Claremont. He wrote all kinds of X-Men stuff. Wrote some of the most famous Wolverine storylines in the Wolverine comic, solo comic as well. And it was he even wasn't a fan of the Madeline Pryor Inferno story arc, because when he originally killed Jean in the Phoenix Saga, he expected her to die for good. And in the comics, Scott, you know, obviously mourned the death of Jean Grey, but then he meets Madeline Pryor and knows that she's Madeline Pryor. She's not Jean at the time. Originally, they end up retconning this. She's not a clone. She's just someone that looks a lot like Jean. They fall in love, get married, have a kid, and then the brass at Marvel wanted Jean Grey back because they wanted to get back to the original X-Men lineup, even though Cyclops had left. Jean was dead. Cyclops left to go away. I think they went to Alaska, him and Madeline. And then they all come back, and in the real Jean Grey comes. It's a very long. I'm telling you, it's like it spans. I think it was over 10 years, and there were lots of crossovers. There's X Factor in there somewhere. The New Mutants. It's just there was a lot. Um, there was a lot going on, and they crammed all of it in a 30-minute. Oh, there's an echo. Testing. Okay, good. Oh, no, echo's still there. Oh, okay, I think the echo's gone. So, anyways, they crammed a lot into a 30-minute episode. So when I was talking to Michael a couple days ago, I was like, "Hey, have you watched it yet?" And he's like, "I haven't." And I know he's read the comics. I was like, "Dude, be prepared. They cram like 10, 12 years worth of story into 30 minutes." And he was like, "Well, they kind of have to." And he's right. And I think they did a really good job of it. We'll talk about it more when we go do the frame by frame episode review. But the only hang up I had was how quickly Madeline loses her mind and becomes the Goblin Queen, because that took a very long time. That took years in the comics. And I was like, it just seemed really sudden to me. And I get why they have to fast track it, but I would have liked a little bit more of a reason for her to break bad, because it just seemed kind of quick to me. But let's see, what do we got here in the chat? We've got Ariel says, "Wow, that's sad. Cyclops can't deal with losing Jane, so you went to go find someone who looked like her." Well, he didn't really look for her. Just kind of just kind of happen. And I don't know if that's healthy, you know. Um, I've kind of had a similar, where I dated someone and then like years later, I dated someone solely because wow, that they really reminded like looked a lot like this other person. Not as close as Madeline and Jean, obviously, but and that didn't that never goes well. Just like with Scott, didn't go well because Scott leaves Madeline to go back to Jean, and then she goes crazy
Hey, Danny.
because of it. They go off. I think they do the X Factor, and Madeline stays behind with the X Men, even though she
Can
doesn't
you
have
hear me?
powers yet. Yeah, I can hear you. It still
Okay.
sounds like it's not
Yeah,
the
I know.
actual
I'm
mic.
gonna have to restart. So keep going.
Okay.
I'll be back in a minute.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So then, where was I? So yeah. So I think Scott and Gene are doing. And don't quote me on this, man. This shit's from 30 years ago, and I'm 25 days sober today. I've killed a lot of brain cells being a pathetic alcoholic. So, I mean, I'm still an alcoholic. I'm just recovering, and I'm not pathetic. At least I'd like to think I'm not pathetic. But he, Bradley, that's funny. Cyclops was broken so bad at that point from losing her, he would have taken a body pillow, or probably. That's probably. I don't know. It's hard, man. Like I can't relate. One of my best friends, his wife died rather unexpectedly a couple years ago, and he's you know she left behind children. One's grown, and the other one is my daughter's age 15. So it's just and he's doing the best that he can, and I don't even think he's entertaining dating or anything, but it'd probably be a total mind fuck if he ran into somebody that looked just like his wife. So I don't even want to. So Melphis, yeah, I was doing that thing. So spoiler alert, thanks. So I was doing that thing where I've seen something and other people have. So like, I always think this is fun. If I'm watching something with someone and I've seen it before and it's their first time watching it, I'll go, oh no, like, oh, he's dead. And I know like the character's not really dead. They'll come back later or whatever. And I'm like, oh man, I'll just like totally sell it. So I was trying to do that with the baby, but you just ruined it. Yes, Nathan does become Cable, spoiler alert. So he's not dead. Like I was trying to, kind of maybe a little bit troll you guys, but it makes you appreciate it more because you think I spoil it, then you get mad, and then when what really happens, you're like, oh, you got me, It's okay, you don't have to be sorry, Melphis. It's fine. It's just a quick Google search, and that people probably already know, even if they didn't read the X-Men comics. And Ariel, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm up to 381 subscribers now, so another 19, I'll get to 400. That's nice. And yeah, if you want to support me, all the links are in my chat. Not chat, sorry. All my links are in the description on my channel. And if you want to support Salty, just you throw in a super chat in his on his stream. I have 3 screens. I got mine here, his there, and the Evie Mux here. I'm pointing at him like you guys can see him. But yeah, over on Michael's channel in his description are other ways to support him and the show. Like, so there's the Amazon wish list. In fact, both of our Amazon wish lists are things to help make the show, like just, equipment and type of things and stuff like that.
Okay, I think I got it now.
Whoa! I can hear everything. Like,
turn that down. How's that better?
Not at all. Like, I can hear the fan from your computer.
Weird.
You sound like you're buzzing. You're like way hot.
Okay, yeah, I understand what you mean.
Yeah, everybody's like, ah! Stanley's like, whoa!
Wait.
All right, well, we got a little bit of a reprieve. You're muted now. Can't hear you at all. Yeah, Ariel. That's what I was saying. We can totally hear his computer whizzing around when his. That's weird. I wonder what happened. He had the extra time.
Yeah, except that I didn't have the person that I needed to test with.
Yeah. Sorry. I've had a day, so things did not go the way they were supposed to today. So, and I didn't even need to. Yeah, Stan, it usually is. I'm used to that.
It's so weird. I like the volume.
Do you have like a noise cancellation option or a background noise cancellation option?
I'm looking. Just bear with me, because right now I have the volume on the microphone is like all the way down, and for some reason it's like blowing out, and I can't figure out why.
Let's just say, and your computer doesn't sound like a warp core. You know what's funny, Stan? I'm actually upset with my hair. It's so windy. I actually did my hair earlier today, because I had to go visit my career coach. I thought I was getting an assistance check and a gas card, and I got neither of those things. And now I'm not even going to find out about the assistance thing until Monday. And then because I see the iceberg, I'm the Titanic, and I see the iceberg because I'm not starting this new job until the 15th now, not getting paid until the 3rd.
Unmuted.
So
that is
wow, that's loud. So I was trying to take advantage of some of these programs they have out here so I could avoid the iceberg. And the iceberg being like, I'm not, as of right now, I have no idea how I'm going to pay my April bills. My rent's due on Monday. So we're going to try to figure it out. But thanks. I'm glad you think my hair looks, it just like the wind just blew all the product out of it. And yeah, more or less. So anyway, but thanks. At least, I might have all this white hair on my face, but at least I still have a full head of hair, not a, I mean, so does Michael. I mean, the two of us are pretty blessed. Most dudes I know my age are, bald or balding or in denial of the whole balding thing. Well, thank you, Ariel. I appreciate that. Too bad you don't live in Vegas. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so I guess back to I was talking about the X-Men. I was trying to well, anyway, they crammed a lot into this episode, but I did enjoy it, and I liked the little thing at the end with Forge, and yeah, I mean, like there's a lot that's still got to happen, and the whole thing with Storm. Storm was without powers for years, so it looks like they're going to give her powers back, relatively quickly, which I guess makes sense because there's only so many episodes, and the episodes are only roughly 30 minutes long, and it's yeah. So I'm wearing my Critic List shirt. If you check the links in both our descriptions, you can make your way over to my Critic List page, where you can see to get ready for today's show reviewing Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I went ahead and I rewatched Afterlife, and I forgot how good it was. I love that movie. And I actually wrote, and I'm sure that Michael will give me a hard time about it if he's actually seen that review. But the review I wrote is very long, and because when I write these really long reviews, he's like, "Why don't you could make that a script to a video and you'd have content?" And he's right, so maybe I should. But I did write a very, very lengthy review about Ghostbusters Afterlife because I felt like it deserved it, and we didn't do a video on it. I never reviewed it on video with anyone, so I wanted to discuss in detail how much I really liked that movie and the return to the original franchise. I guess they're calling it the Legacy. Ghostbusters 1 and 2 are now the Legacy movies. So Afterlife it's a continuation of you know, it ignores the 2016 Ghostbusters Answer the Call debacle that was meant to be kind of like a feminazi reboot, and it continues the story of the original Ghostbusters movies, Ghostbusters 1 and Ghostbusters 2. And I went on Criticlist. You can see my written reviews for Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters 2, Ghostbusters Answer the Call, and Ghostbusters Afterlife. And then after we do our video review today, um, I'll probably do a much shorter review, because when we do videos, my written reviews are shorter, and I try to encourage people to click the link to come watch our video review. So that's probably what I'll do after. I'll probably do it tonight or tomorrow. It just depends on if we get these technical difficulties taken care of or not. I have my AA meeting at 10. So it's about to be 5. So I gotta leave in about 4 hours, 4 hours, 4.5 tops, to go to that. And it's my home group meeting daily at 10 p.m., which I like. And then sometimes on Friday and Saturday, I go to the Stairway Club midnight meeting, but I don't think I'm going to go tonight, because Salty and I do a 9 a.m. Watch along for Patreon. So we're going to be watching, I believe, we're going to be watching Insurrection for next week's show. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure, because yesterday he was talking about possibly doing, or no, we got to do part 2. Okay, so I don't know what we might. I'll talk to Salty. I might get to go to that. We might not do a Saturday morning watch along, because we got to do part 2 of the First Contact review, because we went really long on part 1. And then he talked about possibly doing Metamorphosis, which we both just watched. But if he wants to watch that together again, I guess we can. So yeah, what do you mean, my ears, Mom? Am I loud now? Yes, Stanley. No, Thursday. You're probably I know for sure, Stanley. It's the second half of First Contact on Friday, because it's First Contact Day. But I think because we're flip-flopping and not doing the movie review on Thursday, I think we're doing X-Men Thursday. Don't hold me to that, but I think we're doing X-Men Thursday. I got to wait for... Hey, and we've got Creep joining us with the old Hey Fellers. Hey, Creep. And Ariel, yes, thanks for... so the Patreon you can get to by going to supportsalty.com. And he uploads... all of our watch alongs there, so you can see we're watching the movie live, we pause it, we talk about it. I'm not gonna lie, it was more fun when we had Jason doing it, but it's all good. And but you can still see Jason's participation, like Ariel says here. You can go back to some of the older reviews if you missed Jason, and you can watch those, because it was always a good time. And let's see. Can't wait till you get to ranking TNG. That's gonna be without our. I don't know how well the rankings are gonna work when it's just me and Mike. We need a. So I don't know what we're gonna do. That, and there's so many TNG episodes. There's a lot of homework there. Like I need to watch. I mean, I remember most of them, but there's gonna be some I don't remember. Just passage of time. And I do have them on Blu-ray, all of the next gen. And I probably could get away with not rewatching some of the episodes, just read a recap and jog my memory, because I've literally seen every single episode at least 4 or 5 times. I mean, when I first got that Blu-ray, I burned through, I watched every single episode in order over the span of like 2 weeks. It was crazy. And then I watched all the special features. And then about a year later, I started trying to watch them with my, with someone. And yeah, anyway. But then I always watched them. I watched them with my mom when they first came out on it was on Fox, because it was syndicated. So it was on different channels in different markets. But when we were in North Carolina, and watched it. I believe it was on Fox. Let's see. Yeah, Ariel, I'm a completionist. I wouldn't skip season 1, but I would imagine season 1's probably going to be the lowest rated whenever we do rank them. And then Creep says first 2 seasons are a bit rough. That is true. Season 1 and season 2 are probably going to. They don't really hit their stride till season 3. And then business really picks up once we get to season 4. And that's mostly because of the whole, the best of both worlds story arc and stuff like that. Stan, you didn't buy her as an awkward kid. So my daughter, again, I just went back and I watched Afterlife. And I probably said out loud, damn, she reminds me of Lilith. Like, I thought she nailed the whole awkward teenager thing. And she's supposed to, in Frozen Empire, she's supposed to be 15. My daughter's 15. And like some of the mannerisms and the awkward, like I thought McKenna Grace did an amazing job. And my daughter has not seen either one of those movies yet. I'm trying to get my ex-wife to take her. Or to just, at least watch Afterlife. I don't remember what streaming service it's on, but she, Stan, yeah, she is,
It better be working now.
It sounds much better. Yes.
Yeah.
She's 17. She was like 16, 17 when they shot this, playing 15, which is, she was actually the age she was supposed to be in Afterlife, but shit happens, passage of time, but I thought she was still really good. But now that Salty's back and everything's
now
working,
you're spilling the beans on Afterlife, and you haven't, really...
Afterlife, not Frozen Empire. I'm talking about Afterlife. That movie's 4 years old, man. Jesus. Anyway, so you're back. Do you want to talk about X-Men first, or
I'm down one monitor for some reason?
Oh, that's a bummer. Yeah, that would drive me nuts. I hate that I can't have my.
Well, and it's my main monitor. That's what's really annoying. It's the monitor that's right in front of me. So now I have to look off to the side for everything.
Oh.
All right, so let's see. Go back over here, man, and now I can't even see anything because.
Mom, I'm gonna have to take your wrench. You got to stop promoting other people's channels on the show,
already told Penny, please. Seriously, I asked her earlier during this live stream to not mention that anymore.
Come on, Mama.
Obviously, she was listening to him, not to me.
Yeah.
So if
obviously,
look, let me say, and I'm just gonna be blunt here, Penny. If you want to listen to Robert Meyer Burnett, turn off my live stream and go listen to him.
And then come back and rewatch us. Yeah, it's actually more helpful.
It genuinely hurts me when you start talking about Robert Meyer Burnett on my live stream.
Hey, don't say it a third time. He would be like Beetlejuice. He might show up. I'm just kidding.
I've argued with him in the past.
I thought it was cool. I was just talking about how I watched when I first bought the Next Gen series on Blu-ray, and how I burned through all the episodes in a couple weeks, and I watched the special effects. Apparently, he did some of those. So,
well, he edited the behind the scenes featurettes and stuff. The problem is.
So we're gonna do X-Men first.
Well, yeah.
Okay, cool. So I talked a lot about Melphis kind of spoiled something I was trying to not spoil. In fact, I was trying to misdirect people, but that happened while you were gone. I don't know if you heard it or not.
No, I was.
Yeah, he spoiled who Nathan becomes when I was trying to make people think baby dies. So that was nice. And then I talked about how the Inferno storyline, basically how this episode crammed 10, 12 years of comic storyline into 30 minutes. And I think for the most part, they did a pretty good job.
They did, but my only problem with it is not in the quality of the show, rather that the fact that they're focusing on an era that I'm not a big fan of.
Well, I was just saying that the writer isn't even a fan of it, because when he killed Jean in the Phoenix Saga, he wanted her dead. He wanted her to never come back.
And she should have stayed dead.
Yeah,
I agree with Chris Claremont on that. But I said this before you came on. I think that the introduction of Bishop and Forge was the beginning of the end for the X-Men for me.
Really?
Yeah, did not care for their characters. Never got interested in their characters. I did
Oh,
not.
you're talking about the comics, not in the show.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
I never cared
Because
for
I
the
actually like how I wasn't expecting to see Forge because they left
right.
so much of his story out
I
with Storm losing her powers. So
right.
the little teaser with Forge at the end, I thought was kind of cool.
Right.
You know,
I never cared for the powerless Storm with a mohawk thing that went on for years. And even when she got her
well,
power,
it's not going to go on. It's not going to go on for years in the show because of the way they. I mean, obviously not because Forge is the one that helps cure her
right
in the
but
comics.
I'm just saying.
Sorry.
My point is not what I'm talking. I'm not talking about the animated show right now. I'm talking about the comic books.
For the comics.
I did not care for like the X-Men lost their mojo at this point. They were no longer like I loved the X-Men during Days of Future Past and the Dark Phoenix saga and that stuff. But then when this stuff started happening and then they started doing like 17 sequels to Days of Future Past, I completely lost interest. And so, but now the animated series will probably do it better than the comic books did because at least it won't drag it out. So
well, dude, yeah, I mean, like I'm telling you, this. I'm not kidding, folks. At least a decade worth of storytelling they crammed into 30 minutes.
Right.
And other than, and we'll talk more when we get to that scene. Other than, like it takes years for Madeline to become the Goblin Queen, and here it was almost like it happened so fast. It almost didn't make sense to me. But then when I talked to you on the phone the other day, you're like, yeah, man, come on, they gotta move it fast. They gotta fast track it.
Yeah, they got 10 episodes.
Yeah,
and that's it until the next season.
So they're gonna call
Daniel,
next season
look,
X-Men '98, right?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay, you think, but
And Daniel, you may like Storm with the Mohawk. I don't. I mean, I'm just being honest. I don't think it's I don't think it's a better look for. I think Storm in her classic black costume. It was when she looked her best. With the black costume and the black tiara, I thought she looked awesome.
I agree. And her long flowing hair.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers you because it's really just like it's a matter of personal preference. But I do agree with you. I don't like the mohawk, but I'm not going to I'm not going to take away points for it or anything. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying the mohawk was my big problem. My big problem with this was the storyline of her losing her powers and then like becoming this badass leader of the sewer urchins. I didn't really care about that at all.
Yeah, and it looks like they kind of already did that a little bit.
Because the Morlocks are already going to Geonosia.
Yeah,
so it's like so they can't have Storm take over the Morlocks, unless she moves to Geonosia.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to fast track, with the introduction of because he even says I can help you get back what you lost. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they're going to fast track her getting her powers back. I think it'll happen before the end of the episode, and then because they put the end of the season. Thank you. Sorry. And because did you notice they put Professor X back in the?
Well, he was in the credits last week.
No, he wasn't. He was not in the credits. No, he wasn't. Magneto took his place. He was not in the credits last week.
He absolutely was.
I'll have to look. I know he was in the first episode. He wasn't in the second episode.
I don't know about this. I didn't look and see if there was a difference between the first and the second episode.
Because Magneto wasn't in the first episode intro.
But it's like we already know Professor X is coming back.
We know the normies.
I don't think anybody believes Professor X is dead.
Do you think he's going to be
a Marvel product?
Yeah.
Marvel doesn't believe in death, which I actually have a problem with. I think that when the fact that Marvel never kills people permanently, both in the films and in the comics, is a big problem. And don't get me wrong, DC does it too, but most infamously with the death of Superman. But I think that if you're going to kill a character, let that character be dead. As to Creep was asking thoughts on Thor coming out. You know what? When the movie comes out, I'll watch it and then I'll give you my thoughts. I don't have, I am still, despite their missteps, I am still a Marvel fanboy. And so I will go and see most Marvel movies in theaters. The only one I've really skipped is the Marvels, and that's just because it didn't look that compelling to me.
I actually saw that one, and but not in the theaters. I watched it on streaming.
Well, I watched it on Disney Plus,
Yeah,
but I didn't, and I actually, and I'll say this, it was all right. It wasn't.
I mean, except for the musical part, they could have totally left that out. But,
Well, they could have left the musical episode out of Strange New Worlds as well, but they didn't.
Right.
But that doesn't mean Strange New Worlds is a terrible show. It just means that episode could have been better.
So I just did the tweet. If you want to retweet it, and any of you guys watching, if you want to help
if
get
I
more
had all
people
my
in the
monitors, maybe.
fair enough. If you want to help get more people in the chat while we're live, just share that tweet I just did, and maybe we can get some more people to talk now that Salty's here. Mostly things are working. At least he sounds a lot better now. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I did manage to retweet it, but I can't see
No worries.
what's going on. All right. And there we go. Now I'm back. And Ariel says Storm and the Morlocks have gone into Star Wars. It's all together. I don't even understand.
You're gonna have to explain that one. I don't get it either.
Yeah. And Creep says All Father Thor going after the Power Stone.
Is this rumor? I haven't heard. This is news to me. I haven't heard about this.
It's probably a rumor. Because first of all, at least in the Prime timeline, the Infinity Stones are gone.
Yeah.
So how are you going to go after the Power Stone? You're going to go back in time again? So but and I will tell you guys, this is one of the reasons it really, really drives me crazy when people start posting all these rumors. And that's in fact why, and you missed it. I went on a mega level rant before you got here about how all these people are shocked at how good X-Men 97 is. Well, you shouldn't be shocked it's good. You should just understand that the toxic fandom out there has been lying about how insanely woke it is.
Yeah, I think I'm loving it. It's a perfect continuation.
Thomas, I'm not ignoring you. I can barely see the screen because it's not on my primary monitor, and so I apologize if I missed something. Danny's supposed to be tracking the chat, but
Sorry, I thought I was trying to.
Unless you mean, did you send me something on Skype? Because if you did,
yeah, because I haven't.
My Skype isn't even open right now because I had to reboot like 3 times.
The only thing I saw Thomas post in the chat was a picture of a wrench. So I didn't really have anything to say about that. I have no idea. I can give wrenches on my channel, not on your channel. So.
Yeah, I know, but this is really, really going to drive me insane by the end of the night. What's your other monitor for? No, it's actually very large, but it's further away. And because of the MS, I have difficulty seeing. So, plus it's partially obscured by another monitor because of the way the desk is set up. And Danny is trying to look things up. Yeah, that's a bad look for him. The smoke starts coming out of his ears, and yeah. All right.
I'm also, I really hate that. Like I don't want to neg people out. I had a very, this was like an Empire Strikes Back kind of day, and then it made me late, and I could have just not drove all the way to the north side of town, wasting my time, and been early and got a couple other things done I wanted to do. But such is life. It is what it is.
Stan, I think Life Death, while not my favorite comic, is not horrible. Life Death 2 was lame. That's my honest opinion. I think Life Death 2 was just an attempt at basically cashing in on the popularity of Life Death. And again, I think that this animated series, however, feels like it is the next season of X-Men.
It really does. So I don't. Yeah.
My only problem with it is that it's only going to be 10 episodes. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
only a
not.
half a season.
It is. I mean, good lord, man! In season 3, we got a 9-episode story arc for the Phoenix Saga. You know what
Right.
I mean? They can't.
Yeah.
That's like practically this whole season. So
Right.
I don't know. I really do miss seasons being longer. I hate this 8 to 13
Well, it's
thing.
only
You
on
know?
streaming because on TV seasons are still longer. It's just that most of the stuff produced on TV is like reality shows because it's so cheap to produce those things.
Yeah.
I said Minox and Geonosis, which is Star Wars. That's why. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
As opposed to Morlocks and Geonosis.
Yes.
Yes, I'm not surprised I did that. Anyway, so in this particular episode, obviously we get the whole thing about what's going on, why are there two genes, is the center of this story.
Yes.
And it's actually a pretty straightforward story, where Beast basically, by doing technobabble BS, figures out that the gene that just showed up on the front door is actually the original, and the one
I think he
that,
said carbon dating or something like
yeah,
that.
he says in essence, I carbon dated her
Yeah.
by it was technobabble. And by the way, I can't see the chat right now because I'm controlling the
Okay.
thing. So, but the
Ariel, she's like, why a gene for each arm? Salty. That's funny.
hey, you know what? Look, if a copy of my wife showed up at the front door and they were both okay with it, yeah, sure. But I doubt that Jean and Madeline are okay with this situation. And
when do you think they were swapped?
well, you see, that's the real question because they leave that open. We don't even, we don't know. The only thing we know for sure is it was at least 9 months ago.
Because the baby's definitely Madeline's, right?
Well, it was just born, so
Yeah,
yes.
it has to. It has to be. So it's got to be before this season. I'm thinking it's all the way back during the Phoenix Saga. That's what I think.
Well, that's how it was originally.
Yeah, so I think season 4 and 5, that's all the clone.
Right.
Is what I think.
Like, yeah, because in the original in the comic books, Jean Grey was in a coma after the Phoenix Saga, and that was when Madeline was created. And,
well, no, Jean. Well, I guess they retconned it. She ended up in a cocoon at the bottom of the Hudson.
Right. Well, that's a coma in a cocoon, which is in a comatose state.
Fair enough.
And it was the Fantastic Four that actually found her. And so the Fantastic Four found her cocoon, and they were like, "Whoa, Jean Grey's still alive. What's going on?" But then we also had Madeline, and we were like, "Wait a minute, there's two Jean Greys now." But at that point, we didn't think Madeline was another Jean Grey.
Yeah, she was her own character.
Right.
Yeah, I was talking about that earlier while you were doing it. Jean's dead. Scott happens to meet this chick. She doesn't have any powers. She just she looks like Jean Grey.
Yeah, she looks exactly like Jean
They
Grey.
fall in love, get married, have a baby, move to Alaska, leave the X-Men. And this stuff happens over the course of years.
Right. Scott left the X-Men immediately after the Dark Phoenix saga.
Yeah.
I remember the next issue was called Eulogy, and that was Scott's last, at least the way he thought, it was the end of his being on the team. It was, Jean Grey's funeral, and then he was like, yeah, I'm out of here. But in this, obviously, they switched it up. But anyway, so yeah, Beast figures out that the one that was already in the mansion is actually the copy, and everybody's kind of freaking out. I really hate that costume on Magneto. I hated it in the comics, and I hate it here too. He should have just stuck with his classic red. This purple M thing is just kind of dumb. But hey, it was the 80s. People were experimenting. Um, so then, from out of the blue, Mister Sinister starts telepathically communicating with
Through the
not
baby monitor, which was
yeah
funny.
with not Jean Grey.
Yeah.
And he basically just let me throw a little bit of exposition on you. It was I that gave you the location of the shield generator. He was just basically being the
Yeah.
emperor here.
So you remember, I think Ariel's, hold up, let me find it. Super chat.
And thank you so much. Let's see. Random fact: Gremlins is at the Inventors Convention. You can see Jules Verne time machine in the background, starting up. Next shot, it's gone. Okay. Well,
Okay, that's cool.
that's
It's
interesting.
random.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very 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 random fact. Considering we're not talking about Gremlins at all.
Yeah. So before you get any further, since we got Sinister on the screen, Ariel, I think you're exactly right. I think at the wedding, I think that's when the swap happened, because you got to remember, season 5, after that happens, Jean wakes up in a gown at Mr. Sinister's dungeon laboratory or whatever,
Right.
and I think that's when the swap happened. I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong, but I think
No, that
that's
would make sense. I mean, since Mr. Sinister was there, I mean, all the pieces are in the right place.
yeah.
But yeah, and so then Mr. Sinister basically convinces not Jean to go bananas and start messing with the heads of the X-Men, and we get several minutes of pure acid trip.
What's up, Novanix? Thanks for joining. A lot of these flashes, they were, gosh, you skipped, like when you already skipped the part where she was reading Jean's mind, and we were seeing all those clips from the previous seasons, but the face was blank. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Well, that was.
I get what they're trying to do here with all the
Their
flashes.
memories are fuzzy, is basically.
Yeah, and then when she talks to Sinister, and there's more of those flashes, it was their way of trying to fast track her going crazy. But this is the weakest part of the episode to me, is her quick descent into being
right. It seems like, wow. So Mr. Sinister said, "Yeah, I'm the one that cloned you, and now I want you to fight the X-Men." She's like, "Okay."
Okay, yeah, that doesn't. Yeah, it was a little sudden for me.
Yeah,
and then it's the weakest part of the episode, in my opinion. But they make up for it toward the. I really, we'll get to it. I really love how they bring her back around.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Rogue and Magneto have been scheduling lots of time together in the Danger Room.
Yeah.
Which has got Gambit not too happy.
Yeah.
And and by the way, this is one of the reasons people think that Morph or think that Wolverine is gay is because Morph and Wolverine are besties. And it's like
Wolverine is in love with Jean Grey. I mean,
I know, and Morph and Wolverine were best friends in the first 2 episodes of the X-Men animated series back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Granted, Morph was an invented character, and their friendship was kind of a stand-in for the friendship between Wolverine and Nightcrawler.
Yeah. So Daniel, okay, in the comics, she actually didn't have powers until. I can't remember exactly. Somehow, I think it was it Phoenix that gave her powers? The Phoenix?
I don't know.
I can't remember, but she got powers later, and then when she got bad, her powers kind of just. You guys got to remember, this is 30 years ago. I read these. Something happened, and she got but they just. Apparently here she always had powers in the animated series.
Right, because she's just a clone of Jean, so
Yeah.
it would make sense she'd have the same genetic mutation.
Yeah.
one of the things, and this happens in Marvel a lot. If a hero becomes bad or a villain becomes good, it's not that their power level changes; it's that how aggressively they use their powers change.
Hmm.
So, for example, the Invisible Woman, when she broke bad and became Malice. Now, the Fantastic Four have beaten some of the heaviest hitters in the entire Marvel universe. And yet, the Invisible Woman single-handedly just laid waste to the rest of the team. And it's because she was, her force field power is ridiculously OP if you use it in a reckless, dangerous way. Like you start making your force fields into razor sharp spikes that you can't even see coming. Or she could, make a ball around your head and suffocate you.
Yeah, Stanley. Yes, but it was a alternate. It was the
With the
an Age of
ultimate.
Apocalypse. No, it was an
Oh.
age. It was an alternate timeline.
Gotcha.
Did they? Where did they? That's the only time they actually hooked.
I never read Age of Apocalypse.
I read the trade about 10 years ago. I want to.
So anyway, so Morph is making fun. And here's your. Oh my gosh, the show is so gay because Morph goes into the showers and thinks that it's Wolverine in the shower. But it's like
there's nothing gay about this scene. Come on.
I know it's like, well, if you've never been in a locker room, but hey, it's there, yeah, right there. And by the way, I've seen way more risque. Go back, and it's so funny because it was so long ago. There is a shot of Wolverine fully nude in the Dark Phoenix saga. Granted, he's silhouetted and it's from behind.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the night before they fight the Shi'ar guard on the moon, and Wolverine was taking a shower and just thinking to himself about how he was willing to die for Jean. Mm-hmm. And so, but and it showed a lot more than this shot does.
Yeah.
So I think people need. Now, this was probably the most risque thing they did.
Yeah.
But this is as straight as it gets.
Yeah.
So, whatever. I still don't understand why, and I said maybe because I never read Age of Apocalypse, I don't know why they can touch each other. I thought her power worked on anybody.
It's something Magneto did. He was able to do something to negate her draining powers. I don't remember. This stuff like this, I miss Jason.
Right.
He'd be, hey, research department, and he'd go look it up for us. But
yeah, Jason would be like, "It's Marvel. I don't care." That would be his. That's all he would say throughout.
Look at that creepy pause right there.
Yeah. So, because this is where we realize, we're starting in acid trip land now because Jean is actually, or not Jean, is messing with everybody's mind and giving them telepathic visions.
Yeah.
And they see some weird stuff.
Yeah.
This whole part of the episode just gets so bizarre.
Yeah.
Tentacles galore. Ariel, you'd love it. There's just all sorts. Look at that.
That is a creepy looking thing.
Yeah. So, and this goes on for some time.
Yeah.
And Morph is convinced that they're in hell.
Yeah.
They're, like one of them's like, "What's going on?" And Morph's like, "Isn't it obvious we're in hell?" And it's like, or you're being attacked by a telepath. Come on, you guys have been through this kind of crap before. But yes, it turns out they are being attacked by a telepath. And then they actually go to hell.
Yeah.
Which this may, now you talked about the Inferno storyline. I haven't read the Inferno storyline, but I do remember a one shot in an annual called Nightcrawler's Inferno, which this reminded me of that. But which was basically Nightcrawler's soul being stolen and sent to hell, and the X-Men had to fight their way through hell to rescue him.
This was a cool way to show what you were talking about last week about it not being a laser, being kinetic energy when he was feeding it into Bishop here.
Bishop, yeah.
Yeah.
Although you didn't really, because I was actually thinking, so wait, I don't quite get Bishop's powers. So is it that he can absorb kinetic energy, or can he absorb? I thought he absorbed just energy.
Yeah, but this it's energy, but Scott's type of energy is the kinetic energy you were talking about. So
Right.
So he just basically charged his battery up, and he was able to use it to fight these demons or none of this shit's real though. It's crazy.
Right, which is kind of weird that it worked.
Yeah.
Because if it's a psychic attack, nothing that you do should actually work. And for a split second, I thought this was Galactus until I realized it was a Sentinel.
Yeah.
Which I thought that would have been really cool if it was Galactus. And so then we get her as the Goblin Queen. Now, I did not realize, was she really called the Goblin Queen?
She was. Yes. Yeah.
What a dumb name.
It is. It made me think of Labyrinth because he's the Goblin King.
Right. I mean, people thought Marvel Girl was a dumb name. I'm sorry. Goblin Queen is way worse.
Yeah. Where did she, at least in the context of this animated show here, this episode, where did she even come up with that name? Like, because she was given the name in the comics. Here, she just calls herself it out of nowhere.
I don't know. And because I thought, based on the outfit, that she was the Black Queen here. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, what are they trying to PC-ify the Black Queen because they don't want to call her black?
No. This in fact, I can find a. Let me see if I can.
It's all right. I believe you. I'm just saying.
There's a big old splash page where it's like Mr. Sinister and her, and I think that's when he gives her the name. You are now the Goblin Queen or something like that.
Well, that is the dumbest name.
I agree. It is not a good name.
And so, I mean,
okay, yeah. So in the second Inferno book, there's a huge splash page, and she's surrounded by, I guess, what looks like demon goblins. I'm looking right at it. You have a name, chum. Most refer to me as Mr. Sinister. But you, Madeline Pryor, my pride, my first and foremost joy, may call me Father.
Which he does say that in this.
Yeah. Straight out of the comic.
Yeah. So then the X-Men...
And I do want to say, the outfit in the comic is way skimpier than the outfit she's wearing here, man. Like, way. It cuts, it shows bottom and side boob, and it barely covers the nipples. And then she's got almost like a loincloth that barely cut, it's super low cut.
I'm sure you were very excited.
Oh, yeah. Teenage me loved this. If my mom had known what she bought me, if my mom had, because my mom bought me this book, this is back when I was probably 13. We were living in Thomasville, and she would take me to Big Daddy Jim's Comics and buy buy my comics for me. If she knew what was in these pages, she probably wouldn't have bought them for me. Because it says approved by the Comic Code Authority on the front, so that's good enough for her.
Well, all that means is that they didn't have anybody get high. I mean,
And Creep, honestly, who doesn't? I mean, come on.
Really? That's where you... So Mr. Sinister takes the baby and dunks it in some green ooze. But just then the Ghostbusters show up. Oh, sorry, wrong. Ooze. And so then Magneto comes and they start fighting and fight. But as you can see,
I like how she gets the upper hand on him. She's like, you can only control metal, and then she takes the stained glass windows and just shards him up with the glass because he can't do nothing with the glass.
Well, and that's the thing. And again, it goes down to why is Magneto going down like a punk? Well, because he's not using his powers aggressively like he would when he was a villain.
Yeah.
So just like with Gene, you never see Gene lay people out like Madeline is doing
Oh,
here.
dude, you got to go back. This is the scene where she kisses Scott, and then there's just like, and then basically goes to like kill him. You know what I mean? Or like
Right.
just yeah. This was cool. This was cool.
You
I
just
did it.
wanted to see her kiss him because you're a weirdo, man. You get all
Yeah, I
excited
know.
about cartoons. Maybe you shouldn't watch this show anymore. You're getting a little too into it.
Oh, whatever. Come on.
So Wolverine and Jean have a little heart to heart, and then they
Yeah, and he tells her to probe his mind. They don't show us or tell us in exact words, but basically she can sense that he's madly in love with her. You know,
Well, she's
tears.
always known that.
Yeah, but she didn't know to what extent. She thought, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
I like that scene. She tears up, and then
Oh,
now
is that where you cried again?
no, I told you last night after the show.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get to it.
My brain doesn't work very well,
Yeah.
So then Jean and Madeline fight, and more drug trippy stuff.
Well, it's because it's Gene's. It's a psychic battle. It's like
Yes,
yeah.
I know, but it's drug trippy stuff. That's
Yeah.
what,
Oh yeah.
That's what we get on screen is lots and lots. I mean, look at this.
Yeah.
I
She's
mean,
in the.
she's in the womb with her baby.
Yeah.
And so then they convince Madeline that Mr. Sinister, the guy who took and is experimenting on your baby, he's the bad guy. And she's like, oh, okay. And so then they all fight Mr. Sinister back.
Mm-hmm.
And when they take the baby out of the vat of goo, he says, you just doomed your son.
Well, that's because the technovirus, and this is why. Thanks, Melphis. I really was trying to like make people think baby dies, but that's fine.
What did Malphus say?
In the chat earlier, he's like, "Doesn't Nathan become Cable?" I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
Spoilers. Come on.
Well, nobody cares.
Yeah, I guess.
Although the technovirus actually looks like that thing from the New Mutants.
Mm-hmm.
Because wasn't that considered a technovirus as well?
Well, I know that they had the technovirus in the series already because Wolverine had it at one point, and he was able his healing factor was able to overcome it.
Right, but I'm just saying that one creature, the alien creature that's part of the New Mutants, was like the living embodiment of that techno.
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. The only time I read New Mutants was when I had to read an issue for a crossover. I wasn't really like a New Mutants.
Really, I like New Mutants. At least I had the first 100 issues or so. Yeah. But now I'm trying to remember let's see. Let's see. Not Warlock. Where is it? Bear with me here. I'm just trying to see. Where is it? Wolfsbane, Cable, Sunspec, Carmen, Moonstar, Cannonball, Magma.
So
Icarus.
I was doing. So she was also the Black Queen, but
was
in
it's
Hellfire.
Warlock, I think.
Okay, but that was when she was in the Hellfire Club, and I think the cartoon used that outfit just because it was not as revealing as her Goblin Queen outfit.
Anyway, so they've Bishop says, "Well, I'm a time traveler. I'll take your kid to the future, and then we'll fix the kid right up."
What a cold description for such an emotional scene, man. This scene got me. This was so good. She's talking to the baby,
and she's like, he's my baby, but sure.
And she's implanting those things so later, like it was just so good. And you skipped over the part that really got me. that really got me, man. When Scott was like, have none of you been abandoned? I will not abandon my son. And he's like, I can't be a part of this. He totally skipped over that. That was another scene that just.
Well, sorry,
gutted me.
I don't have every line of dialogue memorized.
No, it's all good. It's just.
And so then I like the name of this bar, Tequila Mockingbird.
Tequila Mockingbird, yeah.
So and then
there's Forge.
Where we meet Forge. And roll credits. And so yeah, I do feel like this is just season 5 or 6 or whatever it would be.
Season 6.
Yeah, this is just season 6, and I'm fine with it. Is it the absolute best? No, it's not the Phoenix Saga. It's not Days of Future Past, but it's pretty darn good.
I want to see if I can find this. Yeah, here we go. It's too small. I'm trying to find a picture to share.
We don't need scantily. If you're looking for nasty, scantily clad pictures, no.
No. Well,
no.
I guess.
Yeah. Don't say no.
I guess technically.
No. It either is or it isn't. No. Don't give me some. No. Well, maybe technically. What are you looking for?
In X-Men 241, the Inferno, because there's a lot other than the outfit earlier in this episode. Because man, we just sped through this. It's so short. I thought we would like have, Anyway,
streaming for over an hour.
Yeah, but 40 minutes of it was you doing technical stuff. They lift it right from this cover when she's like, "You will feel my inferno," and it was. Hold up, I got it right here. Open image. Oh yeah. A son for the Goblin Queen. Here, share screen. So this is so when she's floating and she's like saying, "Feel my inferno," it's like.
So after I told you,
it was a nod to this, Yeah. So.
Just can't listen, can you?
Well, you see the difference in the outfit. But now, hold up. Let me get her, the one I was just looking at. The one that they use is her Black Queen, Hellfire, Black Queen, Hellfire Club. So it's more like the outfit they put her. Yeah, here we go. This is appropriate, so you won't get mad. Oops, hit the wrong link. Open image in new tab. So, and share and a screen. So see, this is the same character.
Yeah, that's the very beginning of the Dark Phoenix saga.
Yeah. And so this is I guess they kind of used a play on this outfit just because it was less revealing, more kid friendly or whatever. Although the show has a lot of, you talk about Star Trek, the animated series, when you do your shorts, and you always end it with like, and this is a kid's, TV show, or this is made for kids, or something like that. It's like the same you could easily do little shorts on these X-Men episodes, like, and say the same thing, Oh
yeah, I agree. There's but the difference. I mean, I think that, and I think that's a problem, is that I do think this show skirts being a little too mature. I'm sure you don't think so, but I didn't. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I know, yes, I'm an adult and all that, but did I really need to see the naked picture of Rogue and Magneto?
Well, first of all, you got who's the audience for this show? People our age, people who watch the original show.
But it's also people our age that have kids that want to say, "Hey, I used to watch this great X-Men cartoon. Let's watch the X-Men cartoon, kids." And then they see, "Oh, everybody's having sex." Okay.
Well, how old are your kids?
I know my kids are older.
How old are my kids?
It's a freaking X-Men cartoon. It's supposed to be the direct continuation of X-Men from 97.
Yeah, but there's a 30-year gap or 25-year gap, whatever.
But you know what? It's not supposed to feel like there's been a 25-year gap. It's supposed to feel like it's the next day.
Right.
And it doesn't, because it's, I'm sorry, but there's too much sex thrown in here for a kid's show. And
well, I don't think there's not necessarily sex. I mean, it's just well, no, they don't. There's not like a sex scene. There's just it's.
Dude, that picture of Magneto and Rogue was beyond what you could do on TV for a long time. Yeah. And so don't tell me, there's no sex because they don't show them pumping. I mean, come on.
They were clothed. You could see Magneto had a loincloth on.
You're really going to defend that?
Well, I mean, it was to mess with Gambit, so I don't know. I mean,
that does. So that makes it okay. Really, that's your. Oh well, since it was to mess with Gambit, I guess it's okay. See, I disagree with you on that, because I think that you can tell this story without that shot. And by the way, you could have told the story without seeing Wolverine in the shower. I want to say, too.
Okay, hold up. I'm going to see if I can find X Factor 37.
I'm not talking about the comic books. I'm talking about the X-Men animated series.
They're adapting this from X.
You know what? They adapted stuff. They adapted the Dark Phoenix saga, and they didn't show Wolverine in the shower.
Hold up, let me.
And they took, like you mentioned, 9 episodes of the show to do the Dark Phoenix saga. They had plenty of time to shove Wolverine in the shower, but they didn't. Why? Because it's a kids' show. That's inappropriate content for kids. I'm sorry, but you can't. You can sit there and say and try to justify it because they did it in the comic books, but this isn't the comic books. And I'm sorry, Stan. No, this was a Saturday morning show.
It was in the 90s. It was a Saturday morning. And it
so
played.
This is not supposed to be a prime time. This is not Family Guy and The Simpsons.
Yeah. No, this is
Saturday morning cartoons.
This played back to back with Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Or Spider-Man the Animated Series, whatever it was called. And
you see, the funny thing is, your justifications are like, well, this is supposed to be. The whole point of this show is that it's the continuation of the X-Men animated series.
Okay.
And so this is not, and while the storylines I like generally what they're doing with the characters, but I don't think that infusing all the sexuality into it is necessary. No, it's not. It's the gay agenda.
Hey, this is a good question. Mom's asking, what's the show rated?
I don't know what the show. I'm sure it does, but I don't know what it is. Let me go to Disney Plus real quick and see if it says.
Yeah, and it's probably. I mean, I don't know. TV 14 probably, because would be my guess.
But let's see. So Marvel. All right. So X-Men 97. It's TV PG.
Wow.
Which is a load of crap.
I would have expected it to be TV 14 at least.
It should be TV 14.
Yeah.
Now, the original X-Men from 92 to 96 is TV Y7.
Okay.
But this is not TV Y7, but it should be. I mean, and look, if you really have to defend it, why? Are you saying that that the original show sucked? Because I don't think the original show
No,
sucked.
no, not at all. I guess it didn't bother me so much.
Well, you know what? It bothers me because I think of the same thing like when you talk about Star Trek and stuff, when they start dropping F-bombs and showing tits. All right? It's no longer the family-friendly fare it was. And this is this is a Disney show. All right? We're not talking about, they're putting it on Paramount Plus or Netflix or something. This is a freaking Disney show, and they're doing it.
Okay, I want to answer a question. I've been doing some, research off this side. Daniel's Hot Topics, you were asking earlier about Rogue and Magneto, and I said I thought they only hooked up in Age of Apocalypse. That's I was incorrect. They actually hook up in the main universe in the Uncanny X-Men number 274. So if you want to dig deeper into that, Daniel, you go right ahead. Just Google the Uncanny X-Men 274.
So and again, it's I'm not saying the show is bad. I'm just saying that it's inappropriate because it's supposed to be a direct continuation, and for the most part, it feels like a direct continuation. But I would be pretty pissed off if I had small children and I started them on season 1 from 1992, and we watched the animated series, and then we went into this, and all of a sudden we're getting some pretty racy content. And and it doesn't, I'm sorry, but the racy content is not really servicing the story.
I want to see. I forgot I can do this. Yeah, this right here. This was so. I wasn't bawling, but I did have to wipe like a tear off of each cheek. You know, this was
bawling.
It was a good. It was so, you know, because I want to see if I can find it because you totally didn't show it at all. Oh, that was it right there. Yeah, right here. This scene here, you know, where he talks about how he was abandoned. I'm not going to abandon my son. I can't let him go off with Bishop to the future. I won't be a part of this. And then he walks out. You know, that got me in the feels too. Let's see.
Son.
We said.
You just trying to get us a copyright strike there?
Oh, wow. You played like 10 seconds of First Contact yesterday.
I didn't know what you were
doing. I played 2 seconds of this. I'm just trying to get to the... Because the thing is so small, when I move the slider, it moves it like minutes instead of seconds.
That's why you shouldn't move it from down there. Because
where do you move it from?
I'm not going to teach you again now.
Okay, fine.
We showed you before.
Layers.
Yes, you click on the layers button.
Okay. Oh. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, hold up. Maybe this is it. Let's see.
He won't feel abandoned.
Oh.
Yes, he will. How can you say he won't feel abandoned?
I can't be a part of this.
I'm sorry.
And then,
and then he abandons them.
And then he leaves.
Yeah. So I can't be a part of abandonment. Now I'm turning my back on you and leaving.
Yeah. It was.
Isn't that abandonment?
No, he just didn't.
That is the definition of abandonment.
Yeah. Touche. But it was really emotional, and they just and I really love the later scene, the one that I showed first, where you know she's putting those memories in him. Yeah, right here,
right.
And so that way, when he does have these issues of feeling abandoned, it'll trigger this message from his mother. I thought that was awesome, man. I hope that this comes back later with Adult Cable. Like, I hope they have a moment where he acknowledges that.
Yeah, they'll probably do it while Adult Cable's in the shower or something.
Oh, what? This episode wasn't that bad. If you take a percentage of the stuff you didn't like, it probably is like 3%.
No, that's the problem. It's not that bad, but it's enough to, like I said, where if I had small children watching this show, which it should be appropriate for, I would be like, whoa, Disney, what are you doing?
How small are we talking? Because even the original series, you had to be.
It was
7.
Y7.
Yeah, 7. So I would say this one, I wouldn't feel comfortable with a kid on. If my kid was 12, I'd be okay with it. 12, 13, maybe 13. Yeah.
Yeah,
so I get what you're saying.
It's the original wasn't marketed to 13-year-olds.
Right. No, you're right. When you're right, you're right. I got to admit, you're right. You know?
Okay. So that, but again, overall, I like the show. I'm not saying the show is bad. I'm saying that is an unnecessary thing, and it's actually part of the problem with comic books especially in the 80s and into the 90s, was they started trying to turn up the graphic content.
They were hypersexualized, especially in the 90s. I mean, those outfits I showed you alone that you got mad at me
It's not
about.
just the outfits, though.
Yeah.
It's the fact that they started putting more adult themes into them. Stories started becoming around sexual relationships and stuff like that.
Well, it depends on some
I'm
adult
not just talking
things
about X-Men.
are-
I'm talking about the
No, I
entire
know.
industry.
I know,
and this is
but-
what destroyed the industry.
Yeah,
This
well-
is why comics are dead right now.
Okay, I want to make a distinction because some adult themes were good for them to tackle, which X-Men did. You know, it was a great allegory for race relations and
Right, but
for
it was
people who felt
But it was an
othered,
allegory for
you know?
for that in the 60s. You know,
all the way up into the I would say for at least 2 decades.
No, but I'm saying all the way back to the 60s, that was there. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about that. I'm talking about
No, I know what you're talking
graphic
about.
content.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that what they were trying to do, and a lot of people that defend it says similar things to what you and some of the chat has said during our discussion here, is that, well, we started this in the 60s, now it's the 80s. Come on, people have gotten older, we're more we're more mature, we need to, but they forgot that comic books aren't for adults. And so what happened was, while they were making people like you happy by having, more and more racy content in the comics, and I'm not trying to point the finger at you specifically.
Well, no, I know. It's just they grew. I felt like they grew up with me, and I get what you're saying. Like, that's just you.
They shouldn't have grown up at all. Because by growing up with you, it keeps you happy. But guess what? The new generation ain't buying comic books. Why? Because they're not marketed to them. They're marketed to the older people.
Yeah.
And so what happens is, as people gradually either lose interest in comics or die, then the industry slows down and has completely collapsed at this point.
Well, I would make an argument right now because, unfortunately, the comic book industry is taking a huge hit. Local comic book shops are really hurting, especially here in Vegas, because of all the woke garbage they're putting in them now. That's what I think is killing the comic book industry right
You know
now.
what? No, the comic book industry has been dying for a long time.
They had a nice little boom about 6-7 years ago that lasted about 3 years. They had a nice little boom uptick.
Really? Right so an uptick is not a boom.
Okay, I'm just saying. Okay, based off of my personal experience here, one of my best friends owns a comic book shop. Ironically, COVID helped his business because people were stuck at home reading their comics. You know what I mean? And he sold a lot of comics during 2020 to 2022, and then he said from 2023 on, it's really just taken a huge nosedive. And he was saying he thinks it's the quality of the stories, like they're just crap now. But
but the problem is they're also it's just like when we talk about what's wrong with Star Wars, Star Trek, whatever. It's that they're not making stuff for their audience. They're making and the same is true of comic books. They're not making stuff for kids, and their marketed audience should be kids, because guess what? Some 30-year-old isn't going to suddenly say, "I want to get into comic books."
Well, I wish I could find some actual actionable data on this. I would beg to differ. I think that
so you think 30-year-olds that have never read comics before?
No, that's not your mark. That's not your target audience. Hold up. No, that's the problem. So okay, let's step back a second. Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the target audience for Star Trek today?
Today, I don't even know.
They're the mainstream. That's why they put all this woke bullshit in it. That's why they tried to make the J.J. Abrams movies more action-packed, put way too much budget into them. That's not what they should be doing. The true target audience for Star Trek is what? Star Trek fans.
No, it's not Star Trek fans. It's Star Trek, because the original series didn't have Star Trek fans to appeal to. It's basically
the original series didn't, but I'm saying by the time we get to
18 to 34, that is the target audience.
Yeah.
All right. So the problem is we're afraid of saying we are targeting a male audience because that's sexist.
Yeah. But
the problem is if men built the industry, You know, I'm sorry, girls don't flock to the comic book stores.
No, you know what girls flock to? I'm probably getting roasted.
They're going to Forever 21 or whatever.
Or they're buying Barbies.
Yeah.
They don't market Barbie to boys, do they? So why are we marketing, things that are predominantly male driven, industries to women or to a wider
and the funny
audience?
thing is that women that are into comics, just like women who are into action movies or women that like the MCU or women that like Star Trek, they don't need you to shove more women into it.
No, they like it the way
it is.
Exactly, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
They like it the way it is. If they're fans of something, it's because they like it the way it is.
I find her frankly annoying, but that Star Wars girl talks about that point all the time, is that, she's a girly girl and all that, but you know what? She likes Star Wars, but she likes Star Wars the way it was.
Yeah.
She doesn't need more women in Star Wars.
Right. So Creep, you got a good dad there. My mom's in the chat. If she's listening, I just want to thank her. She's the one that got me hooked on Star Trek from a very early age. I'm sure she remembers she had all those VHS tapes. I'd watch those things like religiously all the time.
For me, it was my cousin Joni. She's the one that got me into stuff like Godzilla and stuff. Now, Star Trek I was into in utero because my mom was one of the original Trekkies. She wrote a letter to try and get season 3.
Oh, nice. Nice.
And I was born before season 3.
She's a wah man. That's funny.
Yeah. And you know what, Stan? I hate that term. I absolutely despise that term because every time I hear someone say "wah man," I think, okay, they really are a sexist.
So what does that mean? I've never heard that term.
It's just a derogatory.
Is that like a YouTube thing or something?
It's I think it started on YouTube, but it's all over the place. Wah man is basically just a term used for feminist propaganda crap women. And so like Rey is a wah man.
I thought she was a Mary Sue.
She is, but she's also a wah man. All the women in The Last Jedi are wah man.
I don't need to be taught some new bigoted term. I'll just forget I saw it. And move on.
And it's just a derogatory term in order to insult feminists, as Alex is pointing out. And I don't like to use derogatory terms for women.
I love women.
I don't. So when you do that, the problem is if you use the term "wah man," you are proving their point.
Yeah.
You might as well be calling a black person the N-word.
Whoa, 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 whoa,
and
whoa, whoa, whoa,
what?
whoa, 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 whoa. Hold up.
What?
Look at the screen. No, I'm sorry. Totally not related to what you're saying. That's awesome, Mom.
Okay. Well,
no, dude, I didn't take. I don't even have a VHS.
To derail the conversation.
I'm continuing. She still has those VHS tapes, and no, I didn't take them. I don't have a VCR, so you should still have them. Probably in a box somewhere with my Atari. You still have my Atari, by the way, Mother. I need to get that from you.
Okay, are you done?
Sorry. Yes. I was trying to change the subject. We don't need to get all negative here.
No, but the point is that if you're using a derogatory term to describe women or people, it's just like, look, I love Critical Drinker. I think he's funny, but every time he calls a character diverse, I want to punch him in the face. Because
has he reviewed? He probably. I didn't get to catch his Frozen Empire review.
I haven't watched the review, but I get the feeling he didn't like it.
I don't know. I was surprised. Midnight's Edge liked it.
You look at the title of his video; he didn't like it.
Wow. So Tom is on it. I like it when Tom breaks away from everybody because sometimes he does. Because he liked. He gave it a very good review on Criticless Frozen Empire. Was my attempt to segue. Tom from Midnight's Edge. Tom Connors.
You know how much I care about Midnight's Edge, dude. What are you just trying to advertise for everybody?
No, I'm not like a fan per se. I was just surprised that because they're normally negative.
Ever since they disowned me, I have no interest in discussing Midnight's Edge.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
So sorry.
And you weren't negative enough for him.
You're exactly right.
No, I know I'm right. They're like, you call them the fandom menace, I guess. All those dudes that are just thrive on negativity. I kind of hate it. It's just not.
Well, the fandom menace is the name that they came up with themselves.
Oh, okay. Can you drop that back?
Yeah, I'm Dude, relax. I'm doing
Sorry.
it.
Okay, there we go. Oh, nice.
I was just switching the pictures around. All right. So, Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. So obviously, we're not going to go through this movie frame by frame because
It's not. Yeah, it's in
that
the
would
theaters.
be, if we could, we would be breaking the law doing it. But so I'll start with you. So, what's your hot take on Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire?
I loved it. I don't know what some of these people are smoking who didn't like it. Like, so a guy that I watch regularly, who I've never had any kind of interaction with, like normally when I talk about YouTubers, they're people I've personally interacted with, whether it be online or in real life at like a meetup or something. Dan Murrell is somebody I've never met in real life, but I respect his opinion and I watch his reviews. He shat all over this movie, and I could not believe it. I love this movie. I as a Ghostbusters fan, and as somebody who loved Afterlife, I actually think this movie's better than Afterlife. The only critical thing I have to say about it is the boss fight at the end felt a little rushed. I wish the movie was about 30 minutes longer, and and I'd have been fine with that. If the ending felt a little rushed, that's the only bad thing I can say about this movie. I thought everybody got good screen time. Like, people were complaining that Bill Murray wasn't in it that much. I thought he was in it just the right amount of time. We get to see him early on with the Kumal character, the fire guy. You know who I'm talking about, right? Trying to figure out his stuff, and then he comes back later. I love the little gag where he hits the thing and his bottle is still there. He's got like been there for 30 years or whatever. He's like, courage, anyone? Like I thought all the characters had their moments, and it was a bloated cast, and we got some new people, but like that new kid that worked for Winston at the big new headquarters thing, we didn't need a lot of the story on him. I don't care about him, and the most jarring thing to me really was how dramatically different podcasts look because of his age, because he aged up. I thought everybody else still looked relatively similar. I know a lot of people were I don't know, complaining about McKenna Grace. I thought they did a fine job of making her look 15. She like I said, it reminded me of my daughter. It really did. Like, I did not once look at McKenna Grace and think, oh, she's a grown ass woman. Not at all. She looked like and acted like a 15-year-old girl to me. I thought she had somebody in the chat was saying they didn't buy her awkwardness. I totally bought into her awkwardness because my daughter's awkward. She really reminded me of my daughter a lot. And then people trying to say that there was some kind of pseudo lesbian overtones. What the fuck is wrong with, like, why can't two chicks be friends? I mean, she was awkward. She had no friends. She got isolated and kicked out of the Ghostbusters because of her age, because of the guy that has no dick. That's the mayor now. It was like, I don't know. I liked everything about the movie. I think people are just looking for shit to complain about, quite frankly. Just enjoy the movie. It was a good movie. I'd like to see it again if I could. But if I come up with money for the theater, I got to go see Godzilla so we can review it. So, which has been getting great reviews, by the way. I'm excited now. It's like clear across the board, been getting great reviews. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, that has me very nervous because usually when the critics love it,
I'm not even talking about the critics. I'm talking about these dudes who are normally negative Nancy's on YouTube. Even, you know what I mean? They're liking it.
I mean, like I said, my wife and I are going to see it on Tuesday, so we'll see.
But yeah, so hot take. I loved it a lot. It's my second favorite Ghostbusters.
Your hot take so far has been like 10 minutes long. So
okay, I'll end it with this. It's my second favorite Ghostbusters movie after the original. So there you go. Okay. That's my hot take.
All right.
In one sentence.
So, been trying to think of a good way to sum up how I felt about this movie. So, the last movie is called Ghostbusters Afterlife. I think a better title for this movie would have been Ghostbusters Afterbirth.
Oh, you didn't like it?
Now think about it, because Afterbirth, I'm not saying it was the worst movie ever, but it's a movie that came after a very joyous occasion, and it was just kind of there because it's a natural thing that has to happen. Now
it's kind of my thing, creep. Sorry about that. Anyway,
what?
Oh, he said my hot take was a hot mess.
Oh, yeah. A little bloated. I'm sorry.
You thought it was bloated? Hell, I wish it was longer. Wow.
No, I'm talking about the cast.
Oh.
Gary, Callie, Trevor, Phoebe, Nadim, Hubert Wartsky, Lucky, Podcast, Melody, Lars, Peter, Ray,
What are you on
Winston,
IMDb
Janine,
just reading shit off? Let me pull
and
up
Walter
IMDb now.
Peck, all significant characters.
Now, Walter Peck
that's-
was a member, Barry. He was just there
Right,
for
but
us
that's
old
a
farts.
problem. You see, the problem is that they didn't develop any of them. Nobody got any real good screen time. I'm sorry, you say, oh, well, everybody got screen time. Yeah, everybody got screen time, but nobody. Okay, tell me, how was Peter Venkman's character developed in any way, shape, or form in this movie?
You don't need to develop his character. He got
You
Ghostbusters
absolutely
1 and
do.
Ghostbusters 2.
Then he shouldn't be in it. If you're not going to do something with his character, then he shouldn't be in it.
Whatever. I don't know.
Winston, the only classic character that got any kind of development in this was Ray.
Yes.
And so,
But I like how Winston got his moment at the end with the press. I
but
really
the thing
like
is,
how they're.
Winston's development came in the cameo that he got in the last film.
Yeah.
But he was a major player in this film, and you could have cut him out completely. Walter Peck, why was he even in this movie?
Because they needed somebody, they needed an asshole to be the.
No, they
because
didn't.
They did.
Could cut out everything he did, and it would change nothing.
He's the one that got Phoebe kicked out of the Ghostbusters. So you take him out, that doesn't happen. Phoebe.
All you got to do is, you know what? After the close call in the beginning, Mom and Dad sit down with Phoebe and say, you ain't going to be a Ghostbuster until you're 18. This is too dangerous. Bam, problem solved.
Well,
and
first of all,
you don't need Peck.
Paul Rudd as Gary Gruberson is a delightful man-child. He
I'm
would have
not
never.
saying Paul Rudd isn't delightful.
No, but his character wouldn't have done that.
He got no good development in this. He was like, okay, I want to be the dad. I want to be the dad.
No, but he did, because by the end she slips and calls him dad. I thought there was. I
there
thought
wasn't
his
any
character,
development. There was just like a line at the end that says, okay,
Well,
now
it wasn't
I'm dad.
just a line, because there was that one part at the police station where where he finally got stern. He's like, you don't talk to your mother that way. And then when she storms off, the mother's like, it sucks, right?
You and I see character development very differently, because to me, character development needs to be an organic flow, not a line here and a line there.
It was an organic flow, because he was their friend. He wanted to just be the kid's friend. And they talk about it early on in the movie when she's like, she even says to him,
right, but there's nothing that happens to
Callie Spangler, Egon's daughter, is like, you can't just be their friend. Blah, blah. You gotta.
Tell me, what happens to trigger the change?
That scene in the jail.
Okay, so the trigger was the change.
No, okay, because she mouthed off to that cop, and then they cut to, she's like it almost looks like an interrogation room with her mom and Gary,
right?
And they were like, I really thought you were going to go for the.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, and then she starts bad mouthing her mom, and then we see him finally take more of a fatherly role than a friend role and defend the mom, and then she storms off, and then they have a little interaction where Callie is like, yeah, it sucks, doesn't it?
Let me ask you this: why is he trying to be their dad?
Because they got married, apparently, in between.
Are they? Because I never heard any reference to them being married at all.
Yeah, there was.
When? I didn't catch it.
Were you not paying attention?
I was, but I'm sorry, but this movie has so much crap crammed into it just to cram crap. Like, why was Slimer? I was so excited when I saw Slimer in the trailer, and they did nothing with him.
They did as much as they did. They even did a little bit more with him than they did in the first movie.
There
what are
were
you talking
two
about?
shots in the entire. Yeah, but you know what? He was, Slimer.
He's in the movie, one scene in the first movie. Come on.
Yeah, I know, but you know what? Don't show him in the freaking trailer if he's not going to be a featured part of the movie. I really hate that. And Bill Murray, I'm sorry, you think Bill Murray had enough screen time? Bill Murray was in all of about 2 minutes of film.
Oh, bullshit. He was in 2 minutes just in the scene where he was like doing the Dr. Venkman thing with the fire guy. What's his name? Let me look on the IMDb here. Nadim. Yeah. When that scene he had with Nadim was 2 minutes.
Okay,
You
fine.
know?
He was in 4 minutes of the movie,
No,
but he
whatever.
did nothing. You could have cut him out. And by the way, the test equipment he was using wasn't Vinkman's. It was Spangler's. The salad bowl head thing was Spangler's, not Vinkman's.
Well, Spangler's dead, man. You know.
Yes, but Venkman wouldn't have it. If anybody, the granddaughter would have it.
You know,
Now,
this is cool. That's why we call it nerd fights. We can't always agree, and I love it.
But this is my problem. Is that, okay, so you have all these characters. You could have trimmed half the characters out. Why was the older brother in this movie?
Well, because he was in the last movie.
Okay, that's not a reason.
Well, it also kind of...
You could have just said, oh, he's off in college.
You could have, but there's also the whole, like, it was the yin and yang of, like, he's allowed to be a Ghostbuster simply because he's over 18, and Phoebe's and Phoebe's a much. They don't say it; they show it.
They don't even show it. They don't do anything with it. They don't develop him at all. He doesn't even want to be there, apparently. But there's no time and love given to him except that he's going to go try to catch Slimer, who then disappears.
Oh man, I like a lot about what they've set up with this. Like, they've opened so all the ghosts that the Ghostbusters have caught, you know, before Afterlife, are out again. They only recapture the big bad at the end. Mm-hmm. So they've opened up. I want to see a series. I want to see like, who does this? Sony. They don't have a streaming. So maybe on Netflix. I want to see like this cast.
They're talking about doing a new animated series.
Oh, I don't want to see animated. I want to see a live action with this cast going out and recapturing old ghosts. I think it could be cool. I think it could be really cool. I don't know. I just
why have Annie Potts in there? What did she do?
It was just that was just for us old fans. I'm telling, just like you know.
But the problem is there's no reason for her to be there. She just kind of shows up, and
she finally gets to wear the flight suit and try to help, and she
did it in the animated series already. I mean, that wasn't that exciting.
But that's not canon to these. But I get it. I mean,
well, but I'm just saying they're not. The problem is just having someone show up because it's nostalgic or member berry or whatever you want to call it. That's not a good enough reason. You have to have a reason in universe for her to show up. And she just kind of shows up.
They were just getting the old band back together, I don't know.
Okay, it's like this. Look,
I'm a simpleton. What can I say? I'm sorry.
That much is true. Mayor Peck, who I wanted to see more from him. We never even got to have anybody insult him, really. Which I was so disappointed that we never got Bill Murray and Peck in the room at the same time, so you could say, "Oh, it's the guy with no dick." But no, they didn't even do anything like that. And no, Rick Moranis was not.
No, he's retired from acting. He doesn't act anymore.
Yeah. But Mayor Peck shuts down the Ghostbusters for no reason, I might add. But shuts down.
Well, first of all, he's always had a hard on to get rid of him. Secondly, they do like a lot of property damage. Hell, in the openings,
a ghost. They are.
Yeah, but they even got blowback on those news footage from locals, like from people. We're and he's a politician, so he wants. And then at the end, when the public's back on the Ghostbusters side, he changes his tune again to be like, "Yeah, the Ghostbusters."
Well, that's only because they're popular at that point.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. He was see, now he's a politician, whereas before he was an EPA inspector, so he didn't have to worry about public opinion.
He was a dumbass EPA inspector, and he's an even dumber mayor.
Yes.
But when Peck shuts down the Ghostbusters, and they even make a point to go in and say, "Oh no, they've confiscated all our proton packs." But then, don't worry, Winston just shows up with a van full of proton packs, so who cares?
Well, we also had Phoebe's, the one that she hid under the bed that she reinforced with the brass.
But the point is, Peck's whole thing was inconsequential. He said, oh, they locked him out, but they went in anyway. He took their proton packs, but they got spares. It was no point to him being in the movie except to say, oh, look, we got Peck back. That was the only reason he's there. If you're going to bring a character in, I want there to be a reason the character's there.
Stan, that was a good point. I was wondering the same
let me
thing.
ask you this. Okay, so you want to talk about that. Okay, that pissed me off. That genuinely pissed me off. Not that they only upgraded one, that they had time to break down a nuclear accelerator, dip components in brass. Oh, by the way, cut a section out of the fire pole, melt it down, then break down the proton pack, dip parts of the proton pack in the brass, let it cool, reassemble it, when the ghost was 25 feet away when they started.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't even there. He wasn't even.
He was in the streets outside the firehouse when she got the idea.
Yeah, that's a lot more than 25 feet. You're being
I'm sorry. Okay,
you're being hyperbolic
I'll give you
at this point.
125 feet. How's that?
And no, Ariel, he didn't shut down the containment unit. He just the containment unit actually kind of broke down on its own, and everything escaped. Right. Just because,
Which, by the way, is just a rehash from the first one. I mean, hey, look, Peck shows up and all the ghosts escape. That happened in the first one and in this one.
It happened in a different way in this one, though.
Yeah, I know. The first one was because Peck shut it off.
Because even in the first ghost they caught, the Hell's Kitchen ghoul or whatever he was, they had a hard time getting him in the containment unit because the containment unit was full of like 30 plus years or 40 years worth of ghosts.
Most completely pointless cameo of all time, John Rothman. Don't look it up. Tell me who that is.
I have no idea.
He was the librarian.
Oh, actually, that popped me. I was like, and then we get the library ghost again. That popped me.
Oh, look, let's play the greatest hits.
Yeah, dude. Hey, one of my favorite albums is Van Halen's Greatest Hits. I mean, sometimes you just want the greatest hits. Sometimes I just want to unplug from my shitty life, get a bag of popcorn because I couldn't afford the Slimer tub. They wanted $25. I was like, F you, and eat my popcorn and watch and just turn my brain off and enjoy.
Right, now, but I don't want to see the same thing I've seen in other movies. I don't want to get to. It's like when people. It's one thing. Look. If you're going to continue the story of the Ghostbusters, and at the end of the last one, we find out Winston's got money, he's going to bankroll him in the firehouse. But then, because reasons, he builds an entire super secret mega laboratory developing all sorts of new anti-ghost tech without telling the Ghostbusters about it. Explain that to me.
Hold up, my sound just effed up. Give me a second.
All right. Explain that to me.
Whoa.
Yeah, your computer's on my side.
Oh, God. Hold up. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay.
You all right?
Oh, man. Well, hold up. Let me try to fix this. I can hear you, but I can also hear something that's supposed to be muted. Or not muted, but through other speakers that were down. Yeah, I can hear you, but I can also hear... Okay. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I fixed it. All right. Okay.
Yeah, but why wouldn't Winston tell them about the super secret ghost lab while they were developing all this stuff?
Well, Venkman obviously knew about it because that's where he was testing out the...
Venkman wasn't one of the Ghostbusters.
Correct. Oh, you're talking about the new gen Ghostbusters. Why didn't tell him? Because he wasn't ready to yet.
Why?
Reasons? I don't know.
It makes no sense. That's the problem. If you're going to do stuff in the universe that make no sense, it's going to piss me off.
Okay.
I don't like stuff where people are... Because Winston is obviously the smartest guy from the original Ghostbusters. And
or the most successful. He surrounds himself with smart people. He even said that once he made all that money, he was much more interested in the science of it.
Right, but I'm just saying, Winston is a smart guy. Ray is like a Star Trek nerd for ghosts, right? Ray is a bumbling fool, but he knows lots and lots about the lore of ghosts, right? And Peter, we don't even know. Peter, because Peter shows up, and here's what I thought they should have done with Peter. Honestly, if you're going to go back to Peter's research facility, it should have been him scamming on some young chicks.
Oh,
because that's what Peter was doing at the beginning of the first one.
Yeah, but the man's grown.
Come on! You're going to tell me that we should take Peter Venkman seriously now? That no, he would never do that. He's a good ethical scientist.
Okay, all right, never mind.
We're talking about Peter effing Venkman. He should absolutely be scamming on the chicks. And so, I'm testing the effectiveness of negative reinforcement on psychic ability. So I love that scene. That scene defines his character so well. And in this, we get him throwing the pins at what's his name? Nadeem. But but that's really, he throws pins at Nadeem, and then he shows up at the end. By the way, how did he even get there when the apocalypse was happening right outside? You're just not going to talk. You're going to eat, and
I'm just, put
the food down.
There's no point in arguing with you.
Then we shouldn't call the channel Nerd Fights.
No, we should. I'm just saying at this point.
Well, I'm waiting for you to fight back. Rebut or concede.
He's Peter Venkman. He got there. I actually thought it was funny because they all thought that the monster was actually going to. That he was the monster at first, or the ghost.
Right. See, in the first Ghostbusters movie, I think the reason the first Ghostbusters movie is such a classic is that it's a horror movie with funny people in it. Mm-hmm. This is a movie. It's kind of funny because this movie is not as funny as any of the other Ghostbusters movie except for 2016. But 2016 was just, cringy. But this had less humor in it than any other Ghostbusters movie, but it felt more like they were trying to be a comedy because they were doing things that were illogical and made no sense, which you can get away with in a full-on comedy, but it wasn't a funny movie. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me that you're going to make a serious movie, but then have Venkman just kind of show up out of the blue like it's, 1984 and we don't have to explain how things work.
Maybe I was just, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not saying the movie was bad, all right? I wouldn't give it a horrible grade, but I don't think it was great by any stretch. I think it was enjoyable.
I didn't say it was great, but
Well, I'm just saying, you were like, I loved everything about it, and the only thing that you didn't like was that you thought the final fight was rushed.
Yeah, I thought the ending was rushed.
But I agree with you that the ending was rushed, but my point is here, there were a lot of other flaws with this film. This is a deeply flawed film. It's just a deeply flawed film with a great cast. And
I think Ariel's got it right there. I got my nostalgic goggles on.
Well, you need to take those off. That's the same reason that you like Picard season 3 is because
you're probably right. You did it.
Oh, look, they showed me the Enterprise. I feel great.
Hey, I'm nothing if not consistent. So there's that.
Alex, would I recommend it to someone who's only saw the originals? No, because if you have not seen Afterlife, you would not know what was going on here.
Yeah, you have to see Afterlife.
Yeah, this is a sequel to Afterlife. Yeah. This is not a sequel to Ghostbusters 2.
Afterlife was a sequel to Ghostbusters 2.
Afterlife was more a sequel to Ghostbusters than Ghostbusters 2. The less said about Ghostbusters 2, the better.
Yeah, but they still mention Ghostbusters too.
Well, they mentioned the Statue of Liberty walking down the street, but
Yeah.
that's about it.
Quite frankly, I'm surprised they didn't bring back the slime guns for a cameo from Ghostbusters 2.
And why did he bring it in the first place? Why did who bring what? I don't quite understand.
Yeah, what is it? In the words of Faith No More.
Well, what is it and who is he?
Yeah, pronouns, pal.
Yeah. Yeah, don't use pronouns in comments.
And yes, we just answered that question, Alex. Hold up. You have to have seen Afterlife to enjoy this movie. And then Ariel, why would he have any belief Dana would be hysterical?
Oh, you're asking why did he bring the 3,000 milligrams of Thorazine or whatever he injected into Sigourney Weaver? He probably just keeps that with him. It's because, he enjoys some Thorazine every now and then. I don't know. Because he's not a medical doctor.
Right.
So it doesn't make sense that he would have controlled substances. However, I would see, and this is the problem. Venkman in that movie was the kind of guy that I could see keeping 3,000 cc's of Thorazine in his satchel just in case he needed it.
Yeah. So, Alex, to answer your question, here I just put a link in the chat to my review of Afterlife. I gave it an 85% on Critic List, which is in their most excellent category. I liked it a lot. I kind of want to rewatch this movie now because after watching Afterlife, I really enjoy Afterlife, and I had been saying
I liked
that
Afterlife a lot too.
But when I left the movie theater from this one, I was like, man, I think this is better than Afterlife, And then I watched Afterlife. I'm like, so I'll probably go back and forth, but I guess I need to watch Frozen Empire again.
And
with my nostalgic goggles off, and
Alex, you shouldn't be asking Danny anything because, as Stan Lee pointed out,
Doom 2 was a shit show in my opinion.
He doesn't. So he obviously doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to good character development and story. He just doesn't care because it has to have member berries for him. Because that seems like the only thing that gets you going. What did you miss, Creep? Oh, me and Danny were fighting. Because Danny thinks that Ghostbusters Afterlife is like, fuel for masturbation time.
No. First of all, that's weird because there's kids in it. No, I liked it.
Well, you didn't think it was weird that we saw Magneto and Rogue nearly naked in X-Men, which is a show for kids. So why not?
But they weren't naked, and then it was a thing, and then it got horror.
I said nearly naked.
With the melding of them together. Excuse me.
So there you go. Danny defending the exposing your kids to sexual materials. And by the way,
my kids are basically grown. So
she cuts down the fire pole, but then they use the fire pole.
No. There's more than one fire pole in that station, by the way. She just didn't cut the one.
When did they ever show the other one?
There's the one that's in the front there. Then they have the other one that's like, they've shown the other one a few times. This is the same firehouse from the first two Ghostbusters movies.
I know it's the same firehouse, but I mean,
there's always been more than the one pole.
All right, fine. I mean, that didn't even bother me. What bothered me is that she was able to dip her components in brass and she was able to melt down brass, disassemble a nuclear accelerator, take parts and dip it in brass, and then put it back together and somehow have it work, by the way, which doesn't make any sense. Because, I guarantee you, if I, take my computer apart and dip the processor in brass and then put it back together, it ain't going to work. Right? If you go into your car and you start dipping random engine components in brass, it ain't going to work. It doesn't work that way. And it's because, the ball was made out of brass and this ghost is apparently allergic to brass. So if we run the nuclear accelerator stream through brass, that will somehow make it affect it more.
It was just a coil that she dipped in brass. That coil. I mean, I get what you're saying, but
it still doesn't make any freaking sense.
Do ghosts make any freaking sense? It's a work of fiction, man. Come on, you got to suspend disbelief.
No. Look. Now, first of all, you can't use that excuse for every little thing in a movie like this, because this is a movie that takes place in the contemporary real world, except that there are ghosts. And so, yes, brass is still freaking brass, okay? That's it. It doesn't change. Stan says melting temperature of brass is 930 degrees centigrade, 1,710 degrees Fahrenheit. So how did she manage to melt it? I mean, they would have had to use another proton pack to melt it. But that would have actually made more sense. I think she just put it on the stove, didn't she?
See, in this one picture right here, you can see 3 poles in this one shot. Hold up.
Fine. I said, look, I'm not even going on a tangent about the poles, but my problem is
I'm just trying to win an argument that I can win. Damn it!
Well,
now look. You see that? There's 3 poles. There's one to the far left.
Okay.
There's the one in the foreground that Ray is sliding down, and there's one right in front of the arcade machines behind that one. So just in that one shot, there's 3 poles.
That's fine.
So I win that argument at least.
Okay, fine. There's more than one stripper pole in the firehouse, but that still doesn't explain how you could melt one down on a stovetop in 5 minutes.
Was it on a stovetop? I think it was.
I think she just took sections.
Or
of the
was
brass.
it like a one of those laboratory burners? It was something like it was either.
They don't have a lab in the firehouse.
It was a stove. I'm not saying they have a lab. They have the little things that they use. I could be.
You're talking about like a Bunsen burner doesn't generate that kind of heat.
Yeah, so I don't know. Creep says hot plate.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, it couldn't get up to the temperature you're saying in the real world. Okay, I get it.
Right.
That did not cross my mind at all while watching the movie in the theater. Just going to say.
Well, it crossed my mind because
wasn't an issue I ran into. In fact, I was in a sold out, packed theater. And I was sitting next to strangers because there was not an empty seat when I saw it. Mm-hmm. And the guy next to me and we would crack up at the same thing. So when that happens, sometimes I'll make a joke. So even though you wanted Bill Murray to say it, when they're in there with Peck and he's chastising them for letting a underage girl work with him and stuff, I lean over to the guy and I was like, he still has no dick. And then and he cracked up and it was fun. So we shared them. Everybody I saw the movie with seemed like they really enjoyed it. Now, granted, it was a sold out crowd in Vegas.
You're always going to have more fun when you have a sold out crowd and if the crowd's into the movie. That's awesome.
I mean, people were clapping and hooting and hollering. I mean, I don't, maybe that affected my opinion. I had fun. I had a good time watching the movie. Now, maybe if I go back and watch it with my critic hat on instead of my nostalgia goggles, and I'm not with a crowd of people, like maybe if I rewatch it streaming at home by myself, maybe then I'd enjoy it less or pick it apart more. I don't know. But I'm just saying the experience I had at the theater, I really enjoyed it. More so than Ghostbusters 2. I might have to recalibrate saying this myself. I might like Afterlife more. But I want to reserve. I want to see it again before.
I definitely think Afterlife was a better film than this.
I loved Afterlife. Just have you read my review yet?
No.
Big part of my review was the tribute to Harold Ramis. I love that about the.
Although I was nervous that Harold Ramis was the one that was playing chess with her when she first went out into the park,
because he was playing chess with her in the Afterlife.
Yeah. And by the way, I do love this. If you ever watch Pitch Meeting came out with an Afterlife Pitch Meeting.
I haven't seen it. You and Jason got me into those. I've only seen the ones.
It's really good. But one of the things that he points out is, okay, so she's in trouble. It's late at night. And so she leaves the house and goes to Central Park to play chess because that's what little kids do when they're upset in New York City. And then
She's
the
not
other
a
guy,
normal. She's not a normal little kid.
but dude, a child in New York City.
First of all, she doesn't consider herself a child. She's
It doesn't
smarter
matter
than
what she
most
considers
grown
herself. You're not getting the point. A child in New York City late at night in Central Park, you might as well just put her on the milk carton.
This ain't the 80s, man. I think New York's pretty safe nowadays.
Okay,
to
why
the
don't you
80s.
go to Central Park in the middle of the night and see
It
how
was
safe
at the
you-
middle of the night. First of all,
We don't know what time it was.
it's probably like
It was
8 o'clock.
dark.
It was dark, and it was winter.
And
So
no,
gets
it
dark
was
at
not.
Like 6.
It was not winter. It's winter
you're right.
for us right now, but
You're
it
right.
was summer for
It
them.
was- okay. So it was probably 8 or 9 o'clock. It wasn't 3 in the morning or anything.
I didn't say it was 3 a.m, but it's
You
at
said the
night.
middle of the night. You said the middle of the night.
But
When
a
somebody says middle of the night-
15-year-old girl in Central Park alone is a bad idea at any time of the day. As Ariel just put in the chat. That is a bad idea.
Okay,
and
Ariel, you used to always have my back. I don't know what's going on here, but I think you should send me a donation. I'll
Yeah,
make up for
creep.
that.
Danny.
New York safe, best joke tonight. I said safer than the 80s. That's what I said. Damn it.
No, you said it's pretty safe.
Compared to the 80s.
No,
So
you
what
didn't
was
say
it?
compared to the 80s. You just
rewind
said
it.
it's
Yes, I
pretty
did.
safe. You
Compared
did
to the
not.
80s. I
You
did too.
absolutely did not.
I did too.
Okay, so you would let your 15-year-old daughter go to Central Park at 8 o'clock at night.
First of all,
Would you? Yes or no?
no.
Okay. I rest
But my
case.
no, my 15-year-old daughter hasn't caught ghosts, used proton packs, and isn't like a genius.
She doesn't have a
with
proton
like a
pack.
200 IQ.
Guess what?
I know she doesn't in that scene have a proton. I'm just saying that.
But having a 200 IQ doesn't help you very much when the other guy is 200 pounds.
Fair enough.
So you could be the smartest person on planet Earth. It ain't going to help you. And by the way, I don't know what her IQ is supposed to be, but I know she's supposed to be smart because she's Egon's granddaughter. But at the same
Well, she
time,
shows how smart she is in both the movies.
she also shows how dumb she is.
Well, she's a kid. She could be super smart, but like common sense wise, be dumb. I mean, you see that all the time.
So now your mom wants us to stop reviewing the movie?
What do you mean, move along, Mom? Come on, we're having a spirited, healthy debate on nerd fights.
Yeah, just
Trying to
go
stay
listen to Robert Meyer Burnett, okay?
Oh, stop saying his name. Oh, that's the third time. He better not show up. Oh, God.
But no, and again, the cameo fever thing was it was pointless. And a pointless cameo to me, unless it is a true
Okay,
comedy.
were you upset with hold up, were you upset with the Dana Barrett cameo, which made even less sense in Afterlife? She's literally in the movie less than a minute. Did
Yeah.
that bother you? Did that offend you?
I don't even remember what she did in Afterlife.
Exactly.
What do you mean exactly? How can I comment on whether or not it bothered me if I can't remember what she remind
That's how
me
little
what
she was in it. Okay, she's it's a little gag. It's a mid-credit scene. She's holding up the cards like Venkman was in the first movie, trying to get him to guess.
No, that didn't bother me, and I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
Because it was a mid-credit scene,
Oh, okay.
and it was just done as a gag.
Okay.
So if that was done in the middle of the movie, yeah, I would have had a problem with that.
Okay. I'll allow that. That's fair.
I'm glad you'll allow it. Very, very kind of you, sir.
Yeah, I am a benevolent being. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I pissed off Ariel. I'm sorry. I was just kidding. These jokes. These are jokes, hon. Come back.
No, he's serious. He hates you.
Damn it.
Just stay on my channel where you'll be loved and appreciated. And so it's just like the little marshmallow guys. Why were they infesting Ray's basement?
Oh, the kid made podcast made a comment about that when he came. A couple of them hitched a ride with him, and he's like, and they seem to, reproduce quickly. He said something to Phoebe about it.
Yeah, but what were they doing there?
I mean, I thought his explanation. He said that they a couple hitched a ride with him, and they multiplied. So I guess they're like tribbles. I don't know. I mean,
you see, I thought that was stupid. And granted, they're funny, but it was stupid. Because the problem with this movie is most of the comedy came from stuff like that, not from the characters. The characters were all deadpan. Except for, of course, Bill Murray, who can't be.
Right.
But nobody was saying funny things in this movie. And that's one of the things that I didn't like about this movie was that, I love Paul Rudd, right? He's the world's most likable guy, but he wasn't funny in this. He was just Paul Rudd trying to be a dad.
Yeah.
You have even Ray, who is, arguably the funniest of the Ghostbusters as far as just with his childlike behavior. Even he wasn't funny. And that's Dan effing Aykroyd.
Yeah.
So nobody was funny, but they did little funny gags like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And of course, and then you're supposed to laugh because, oh, look, it's Peck. He has no dick. And it's like, okay, I'm getting a laugh about a joke that was in a movie that was decades ago. I'm not getting a laugh out of what's happening now, just that this reminds me of a funny moment from another movie.
How old does that make you feel? 40 years ago, Ghostbusters came out.
Yeah.
40 years ago. That's crazy.
Stay Puft versus Minions creep. Well, the Stay Puft Marshmallows are funnier, I think, because of the fact that they're always trying to hurt themselves for some reason, and there's no explanation to that. It's just,
Yeah, it was just, they were like that in Afterlife, but Aravik.
Oh, I know they were like that in Afterlife, but there's no explanation there either. They just do it. They're just like these masochistic little trolls.
Yeah. Well, Aravik, I do highly recommend Afterlife, and I felt the way they handled the Harold Ramis character was awesome. He didn't speak. They actually got a relatively famous actor to play him, he was the warden in Shawshank Redemption, but then they CGI'd the face, and it looked great. It did
great. Look very convincing. But part of the reason it worked was because he was a ghost and he didn't talk.
Right.
And by the way, Ariel's saying Minions would rip those puffs apart. No, the Minions would just eat them.
Yeah, right.
So I mean, problem solved. No contest. Minions eat Stay Puft Marshmallows, I'm sure. I like the fact that there was a Stay Puft Marshmallow truck at the end, but again, what's the point of that?
Probably to lead to what Mom's talking about, maybe some series with the Stay Puft guys.
Well, they're already talking, like I said, about an animated series, but I don't think it's focusing on Stay Puft.
I mean, Sony made an entire division called Ghost Corps. They're gonna make more Ghostbuster stuff. There's a whole.
You know that every time they make a new movie, they found a new company for it, right?
Well, not every time, but Ghost Corps was the production company behind Afterlife. I know that.
Let's see, Ghostbusters Untitled Netflix animated series.
Okay.
That's all we know at this point. It's in development. But yeah, nothing is known about what characters are going to be in it, what it's going to focus on, or anything like that.
Oh, no.
What?
Oh, Ghost Corps was the same production company behind Paul Feig's Ghostbusters. So there's that.
Well, but
I can't. Oh my God, that shit show of a movie actually grossed more money than Afterlife. I can't believe that.
What, 2016?
Yeah, but Afterlife was way more profitable because it had half the budget,
right?
As Ghostbusters Answer the Call.
But yeah, most of the time when a new movie is greenlit, part of the greenlighting process is that they found a corporation to make that movie.
Okay.
And so because all the gaffers and lighting techs and even the actors and stuff, they all work for that they draw their paychecks from that company. And that
All right, well-
that helps protect the studio because the company can go bankrupt and not affect the studio.
All right. Well, look. Ever since I quit booze, this is actually the longest I've held my pee for a while. I got to go to the bathroom, so I'll be right back. You entertain the
That's
crowd by talking more
TMI, dude.
garbage.
We didn't need to say that.
Okay, sorry.
You would call you're talking about the yellow minions. Everybody would call it a draw. What kind of minions were you thinking of? And cannibalism. Well, the funny thing is that the Stay Puffs, they weren't cannibals because they didn't eat each other. They just hurt each other in various ways. Like they'd light each other on fire. They'd put each other in a blender. They'd, do all sorts of horrible things. But they didn't at least not that I can think of. I don't think there's ever a shot of them eating each other. Not that I can think of anyway. And then Creep says, so, not sure why, but there you go. Let's see. I was thinking the Stay Puft Marshmallow Minions from the Ghostbusters video games. I've never played that game, so I don't know anything about that. And the P thing, yeah, I know. Danny, he needs to work on. Danny needs to learn to put a filter on that mouth of his. He's got work to do, but
All right.
yeah, we were just talking about you. You muted yourself instead of unmuting yourself.
Oh shit! Did you
Don't
hear
worry.
me?
The less said about your urination practices, the better. In
Sorry.
fact, we were just
I
talking
thought I
about how
muted.
you need to stop talking about your urination practices.
Okay, my bad.
Whose dog is yapping? That's my wife's dog because my wife just got home. And as soon as she comes in the door, the dog goes crazy.
Well, then I guess we should start winding things down. We're almost to the 2.5 hour mark. I guess I got an idea.
Okay,
Final
so
thoughts and score from you first.
All right, so final thoughts on this. Is it a good movie? Yes. Is it a great movie? No. The movie is bloated with cast that are underdeveloped and has a story that really feels like, honestly, and this is something that's in the pitch meeting. He goes, yeah, we're going to see them Ghostbusters bust some ghosts. Yep, twice. Once at the beginning and once at the end. At no other time do we see the Ghostbusters busting ghosts. Instead, it's, family life. Is Afterlife better? I would say bottom line, absolutely. Afterlife is a better film. However, would I skip this movie if I was a fan of Afterlife? No, it's worth watching. It is absolutely worth watching. It's not like, I got to see it opening night kind of movie for sure. But there are very few movies that really get me excited. Like even Godzilla X Kong, I'm seeing on Tuesday.
Actually, I did see this opening night. Now that I think about it, that's probably why it was packed.
Well, yeah, it's almost always packed on an opening night, which is fun. The energy, the vibe is cool.
Yeah.
But honestly, for me to see it opening night would mean to not do the show, and so
Because of the time difference, I was able to. Yeah. So.
Right. So, yeah. And the RLM guy pointed out, the RLM guy, not sure who that is, isn't the proton beam supposed to hold on to a ghost? That's what proton throwers do. But this ghost was immune to it because he's cold, I guess.
He was OP, whatever.
Yeah, but you know what? Zool was a god and was not proton proof. Zool is just too fast for them.
Yeah.
So
Oh my God! Remember that scene because I just rewatched Afterlife, where Gozer ripped Shandor in half, like vertically.
oh yeah, Gozer I meant, not Zool.
That
Zool
was
was the one that possessed Dana.
yeah. Gozer was the androgynous looking
Yeah, the god,
the
the
god.
Sumerian god. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's definitely a worth watching if you're a fan of the franchise. You got to see it. You know, I would hazard a guess this is the last time you're going to see Bill Murray. And I mean, he looked like he had one foot in the grave when he was on screen. So
Yeah, I think if they do another movie, we'll definitely see Winston and Ray again. But I do think this is Bill Murray's last time. You
yeah,
know,
which is one of the reasons I was so disappointed that his part was so minuscule. Because he literally, they show up at his place to try and figure out what's up with the fire master, and then at the end of the movie, he just kind of shows up and says, "Hey guys, I'm here to fight the ghost," and they're like, "Okay," and then they fight the ghost. So anyway, so as far as score out of 10, gut rank feels, I would say, out of 7.
okay, I can live with that. That's cool. 7's still good. So I gave Afterlife an 85, and I'm gonna before I think I'm gonna have to watch this again, but Frozen Empire again before I do my review on Critic List. Because at first I was thinking I liked this movie more than Afterlife. But you brought up some good points, and Ariel's probably right. I probably had my nostalgia goggles on, so I do want to see it again. I'm probably going to teeter around 75 to 80%, so 7.5 out of 8, to 8 out of 10. But who knows? Maybe if I see it again, I might. It's definitely. I'm happy you gave it a 7. I actually thought you were going to score it lower. So I'm somewhere between 7.5 and 8.
Well,
myself.
keep in mind, so I'm going to bring back the subjective objective review quotient that like I've been doing for The Last Jedi, which I know you have not been watching, but some people who actually appreciate me have been, and so that way I don't know what the score is. The fun thing about doing it that way is that I don't know what the score is until I'm done.
Right.
Because I just kind of go through the whole thing. I say, oh, yeah, I like that, didn't like that, like that, didn't like that, like that, didn't like that, then add it up at the end. Oh, so that's what the score is.
Kind of like what Popcast used to do with their ups and downs.
Except that I actually formulate it because it actually comes into a score out of 10 as opposed to, well, this time it's 32. Next time it's 12. And it's like, well, is 32 good?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
So
so yours would make more sense.
So because it ends up being a score out of 10, okay. And I can adjust it easy enough to be a score out of 100 for the Critic List thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, So I'm like I said, between 7.5 to 8 probably. I do want to watch it again. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I do recommend if you're a fan of Ghostbusters, see it in a theater. It probably won't be the same experience I had because it never, nothing really compares to an opening night experience if you're able to go to one of those. But I had fun. Like I said, people were laughing, clapping. It was a lot of fun. It was a fun experience for me, and I didn't run into a lot of these problems. But now that as you're good at doing to me, Salty, you've pointed out a lot of things that I didn't notice because of my goggles or just because I was wrapped up in the fun. So I do want to. I
am overly analytical and nitpicky and all that, and I get that. But at the same time, I think unfortunately, I also try to be fair in that I don't decide that a movie that I haven't seen sucks because it has a lesbian director or something.
I got you. So you were 7. I'm going to say 8. Just so overall, the Nerd Fights score for Ghostbusters is 7.5 since there's just 2 of us now. Which is not as shabby. That's a passing grade. It's
definitely a passing grade. It's just we'll see. Who knows? Maybe it'll age better. Maybe it won't. We'll find out. But
I hope there's a director's cut because I do feel like there was some stuff missing.
There's definitely some stuff missing because a lot of these characters, it felt like, oh, and something happened when we were away and now they're back and things have changed.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, what? Okay.
Yeah.
And again, if you're not going to do something with a character like Peck, don't bring him in. That's all I want. Anyway, so what are you doing for Easter?